You mentioned polygamy to some people and there's instant disapproval. I wonder how you all feel about polygamy versus an affair or a mistress. How do you view it? Yeah, Bianca.
Polygamy is much better than an affair because it's open, it's honest, whereas an affair is hidden. If there is any sort of respect in any relationship, any form of trust, there has to be some form of honesty, and therefore polygamy is just that much better.
How do other people feel about that? I mean, do we accept affairs more than we accept polygamy?
Socially,
and is that a... Sorry,
socially, yes, it is more acceptable. Everyone frowns upon polygamy and, you know, second wives and that, but, you know, mistresses do exist and it's very widespread, and men are very likely to cheat on their wife. So, yeah, I would rather...
Why do you say that? Why do you say that men are very likely
to
cheat?
But that's how men were created. They're weak and they...
They're weak?
They are weak. Most men. Wow. Yeah, if not all.
And why, if not all, why are you saying that? Are you saying that from personal experience?
No, I'm just saying maybe that's why also one of the reasons why Islam permits a man to have multiple wives.
I'd just like to make a point.
What, Farhan?
I strongly disagree to that notion, saying that God would allow men to marry more than one just because men are more inclined to cheat or to have more than one sexual partners.
Yeah. Hella, what did you want to say?
I want to say, I wonder how many men had some kind of relationship with their second wife before marrying her.
Are you suggesting that it's being used as an excuse for cheating almost?
Yes, and then they decide to marry. Yes. So first they cheat, and then they decide, oh, okay, you know, I'll marry this person or that person, or I'm not happy in my marriage, or let's have a second one.
Okay, other questions? Yes, or comments? Yes, down the front.
I'm just wondering, when you talk about polygamy, it's mostly like one man and multiple wives. What about the other way around? Like, arguments involving a bigger family, better for the kids, like, wouldn't it also apply when you have, let's say, a dad, a workaholic dad, and he has a kid with his wife, and then the kid's, like, neglected, so is it wrong for the wife to then find a more stay-at-home dad, marry him, and provide the son with a, you know, a stronger father figure?
Okay, Mark, how would you feel about them getting other husbands?
We actually discussed this, and my view of love is basically what you do for your partner is the things that make them happy. If that's what they wanted in life, thankfully they don't, I guess, but it would complicate the situation even more.
What do you? Would you like to have other husbands?
No, they have no interest.
No.
Dorothy?
Well, before Mark came along, even though my marriage was in shambles and I've been married 24 years, I haven't seen any other man. I had no eye for any other man. That was it.
Wutiana, what about women having lots of husbands? Would that be okay?
Well, not the age elders. Young, certainly, they can have lots of men.
So you'd be happy for Nayari to have other husbands? No. No? No? Nayari, what do you think about the idea of women having a lot of husbands? Would that be acceptable?
Yeah. If we turn out.
Would that be okay? Would you feel okay about that?
Yes.
Yeah?
If he would left me.
If he would let you?
Yeah.
Do you think he would let you?
Yeah, I think so.
I think she might be asking you. But in your culture, would it be acceptable, or would that be not good? No. Okay. Peter, I just want to ask you, how common is it for women to take multiple husbands in other cultures, in different cultures?
It's a very rare pattern. There are plural marriages in Tibet with multiple husbands of a single wife. But again, it's very rare in the world societies.
Why do you think that is?
The way biologists think about it, men get a lot out of having multiple wives. They can have many, many children, but a woman's ability to have children is fairly strictly limited well, in extreme cases, women sometimes have as many as 20 children, but even in the most fecund populations, the average is closer to 7 or 8. A man with multiple wives could have 50.
Okay. Fatima, what do you think about the idea of women having multiple husbands?
Well, my thoughts are what I got to do with the way our religion states for us is it's not allowed. It's too confusing. If a woman has, well, it's beneath women to have multiple men as partners. And children, if, you know, a couple of men fertilize one child, like who does that child belong to? And that can create problems in the future, you know, for the lineage of the children. Who's going to take responsibility of the children?
Imran?
Polygamy is allowed in Islam, but polyandry, which is a woman having multiple husbands, that's not allowed. Because firstly is that how do you identify whose child it is? But also, women don't want to become a infant factory, because each husband he wants children. So if a woman gives birth, then she's got to, before she can even have time to recover and get back to her strength, another husband wants a child. And so it is not practical.
So it's mostly about biology, is it?
It's also it's a psychological thing as well. Men can handle 4 women, but women cannot handle 4 men.
Okay, who wants to comment on that? You're going to have to take a bit of heat, I think, on that. Yes.
Connecting religion and polygamy at the same time. At the time when
Islam...
Islam...
not just religion, it's culture broadly.
With Fatima and so Imran. So we have to analyze how polygamy came about in the first place. For example, in Islam, right? It was a different society then. Women were being bought and sold. They didn't have the power they have these days.
But polygamy existed before Islam.
Exactly, exactly. Because Islam brought it all in order by saying you're limited to 4 women.
When Islam came, they just reduced. God reduced it to 4.
Precisely, and how many years ago was that? Precisely my point. So the polygamy came about to control a wilder society than a polygamous society, and now we've moved on hundreds and thousands of years now, not thousands, almost hundreds of years now, away from that model. We don't even need polygamy anymore, leave alone polygamy, vice versa.
But some
Farhan, what did you want to say?
Yeah, just to emphasize on how we're saying that the Quran allows and mentions polygamy, and it does, yes, in verse 3 of the 4th chapter, it does say marry 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but just before that is the condition, and that condition is actually the looking after of the interests of the orphans.
Okay, yes. Imran, is that your understanding as well?
His quotation is correct, that we have to look at the historical background of that verse, because that verse came down after many soldiers were killed in the battle. So it left many women who were widows, and also children that were orphans. So the whole historical background and Islam's giving permission was basically for the caring of the widows and the orphans.
If it was established, though, historically that way, is it still relevant?
Yes, it's still relevant.
Let him finish.
How many widows of Iraq, the Iraq War, and the troops, and
they don't have wealth.
And why it's relevant in Australia, where we have social security and the government is paying for everything.
But it's not only about financial means.
What did you want to say?
What I want to say is it's not relevant to us here in Australia, because we have the wonderful Centrelink, which pays for everybody and secures everybody. So,
Fatima,
it's not only financial. It's security. It's having a man. It's when you need something.
So it's not.
Fatima, are you in a polygamous marriage? Would you be in a polygamous marriage?
If I was in love with my husband a lot, and he was so good to me, and he had very strong desires that I couldn't fulfill, or I was sick and, you know, a man has desires, then maybe I would if the lady was good.
But would not...
But that's... no, hang on a minute. But that's actually interesting because that's placing a lot of conditions on the situation. So instinctively you wouldn't like to be in a polygamous relationship by the sound of it.
It's not my ideal situation to be in. We're all selfish. We're born selfish. And jealousy, you know, everyone is jealous. But, you know, if the circumstances need it to be, I could be a second wife maybe.
Why would that be different?
Because it's easier. Like, you know, he didn't marry on me. I was like the second.
That's right.
So you wouldn't feel betrayed in a way?
I wouldn't feel betrayed, yeah.
Okay, we've spoken to one woman who is really struggling at the moment with her feelings about being in a polygamous marriage. Let's have a look.
Well, the best thing about polygamous marriage is, like, everyone's happy, you get what you want. Like, he spends time with you, spends time with her. He buys her flowers, buys me flowers. Like, it's just, it should be legal because it's something beautiful. Like, if you actually look into it and see how they're living, and you would love it. Like, I reckon it should be legal. The biggest challenge was seeing him having another child from her. That was probably one of my biggest challenges. How am I coping? Sometimes I'm alright, sometimes I'm upset. Like, it's just mixed emotions. Yeah, it's depressing. I feel jealous, I feel upset, of course. You just get really, like, raged. I'm always getting depressed about it. Just sometimes I feel like I can't handle it anymore, and just I get all these thoughts like, you know, what to do, what am I going to do, and I think about my kids. I don't want them seeing me upset and depressed, so I try to be as, like, making myself as happy as possible just for my kids' sake. But the relationship is like, it's well, but me, typically, I just don't want to be involved. Where to next? Move out, live my life, and see how it goes from there.
I think that's so interesting because there are such mixed feelings that woman's going through. And on the one hand, she's saying there are really good things about polygamy, but on the other hand, a major struggle to the point where she's thinking about leaving. Emma,